Welcome to the future, where the glass is half full and you'll need new glasses, where you'll be jumping from conclusions.
The past is annulled, and a new future is born.
Never before in history has so much meant so little to so many. AD on the radio.
So what's the latest with Cosby? Do you know about this, Travis? I hear that, look, he got popped, obviously. He was found guilty, and he could be sentenced to spend the rest of his natural life in jail, which, the guy's pretty long in the tooth. He's not necessarily all that long for this world. But apparently he might not actually spend any time behind bars. Have you heard what the situation is?
I haven't heard the specific situation. I assumed from the beginning that he likely would not actually go to jail because, let's face it, if you have money, you generally don't go to jail. There are exceptions.
Oh, that's an interesting thing for you to say as a cop.
Oh, well, it's more of a court system type deal. You can have the greatest case in the world, but when you're able to afford, attorneys like, I don't know, like say if you're some well-known football player who owns a white Bronco and went for a long drive while the police are trying to stop him. I don't want to name names or anything, but I think we kind of saw that, money can get you out of a whole lot. I don't know what's going to happen with the Bill Cosby thing. Obviously, he's going to appeal.
Yeah.
I'll be shocked if he goes to jail.
Well, did you hear what one of the jurors said? Did you hear what it was that one of the jurors said about what it was that took him down?
No, I haven't.
His own words. And by the way, I think we're a couple sandwiches short of the picnic with Cosby. I don't know if it's age related or if he's always been kind of distanced from reality, but he was screaming and yelling things in the courtroom saying like, this guy annoys me about about some of the prosecution, or I'm sick of him, or is it weird little outbursts, and he called somebody an a-hole in court and all this sort of stuff. It was just, like I said, it's not necessarily a guy that's playing with a full deck. Don't know whether he ever was or whether this is a new thing, but the thing that took him down was, according to a juror, his own words. You hear this?
No.
You and I have this theory that if you are guilty, you should keep your mouth shut.
Yeah. It's one of those things that's like, you look at so many cases that if people had just shut up, if they just didn't, even if you look at all the people that have gone down in the Russia probe, the whole Russia deal, if you look at all the charges, none of them have anything to do with collusion. At least, no, I don't want to say none of them, but most of the charges at this point are stuff about like fraud or lying. So many of them are lying to the FBI. Just don't talk to them. If you're guilty of something, just keep your mouth shut and tell them, well, I don't want to talk about it.
It's like what landed OJ behind bars, had nothing to do with being a murdering type of person. So it's just like, you're absolutely right. One of the jurors in the Bill Cosby trial told ABC News that it was Bill's own words that got him convicted. 22-year-old Harrison Snyder said, I think it was his deposition. I think we've got some audio.
What was the evidence that made you sure beyond a reasonable doubt that he was guilty?
I think it was his deposition, really. Ms. Cosby admitted to giving these quaaludes to women, young women, in order to have sex with them.
But when you entered the room for the first time, were you sure that he was guilty?
No.
So what then made the difference for you once you started deliberating?
Hearing everyone's comments about certain pieces of evidence and going through the different counts.
So you don't feel, even now, that it was an open and shut case?
No.
You know what's interesting?
What's that?
I remember listening to an old Cosby comedy record, and he does a bit on there, which to me always sounded a little strange. But he talked about fighting with his wife and how she would, when they were fighting, she would pull up the cover and say, you're not getting any of this good stuff. Like she would deny him sex when they were in an argument. And he was like, that's fine. I'll just attack at 4 a.m. Oh, who is this? The Shadow. That was a bit. He talked about how when his wife didn't want to have sex with him, he just waited till she was asleep and did it anyway.
Oh my God. That's the kind of stuff that it's the subtle jokes that, you look at, and everybody always says, oh, well, there's a little bit of truth in every joke. Well, there's some reality of that one right there.
And he actually made some jokes about Spanish fly too, which is obviously not something that knocks people out. But, the idea of using some sort of substance on unwilling females to get them to become more willing is something that he talked about pretty openly for a very long time. Cosby admitted that in his deposition years ago in the civil case against him. Well, you know what? Hold on. This is actually interesting. I don't want to rush it. It's sort of fascinating stuff. We'll get into it next.
Real radio.
104.1. Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio, on Twitter at ADSXE.
So if you're just joining us, we're talking about the fact that one of the jurors in the Bill Cosby trial told the folks over at ABC News that it was Bill's own words that got him convicted. Have a listen.
What was the evidence that made you sure, beyond a reasonable doubt, that he was guilty?
I think it was his deposition, really. Ms. Cosby admitted to giving these quaaludes to women, young women, in order to have sex with them.
But when you entered the room for the first time, were you sure that he was guilty?
No.
So what then made the difference for you once you started deliberating?
Hearing everyone's comments about certain pieces of evidence and going through the different counts.
So you don't feel, even now, that it was an open and shut case?
No.
Cosby, like I said, admitted that he gave young women quaaludes in order to have sex with them years ago in the civil case against him, against the victim, rather, Andrea Constant. And Snyder, the guy who we just heard, also said that he believed Andrea's testimony, and it didn't really matter that prosecutors brought 5 more of Cosby's alleged victims to the stand. One was enough to do it. As a 22-year-old juror, he actually didn't know that much about Bill Cosby, except for the fact that he was an actor. He'd never seen an episode of The Cosby Show, and he also claimed to be pretty much unaware of the hashtag #MeToo movement. So it really did sound like they got someone who was kind of... Do you think it's better or worse, Travis, to if you're going to put Bill Cosby on trial, is it better to find someone that's kind of oblivious of his work in show business?
Probably.
Or do you want someone who's familiar with him as a person? I mean, which causes a greater level of impartiality?
I guess it depends if you're on the prosecution side or if you're on the defense side, because it's one of those things that on the defense side, if you look at Bill Cosby, aside from this little deal, Bill Cosby has always been viewed as a wholesome family guy. So it's one of those things that, if you're on defense, I would want people to be as familiar with his work as possible. Because, just like you've said in the past, we all grew up with him. We grew up with him being a role model. So that's one of those things that at least in my opinion, if you look at it, you would probably want them aware of his past. If you're on the prosecution side, I would think you'd want somebody who's not too familiar with him because he looks like a monster from the evidence.
I mean, it's the prosecution. Well, it's the Cosby MO that I think is an interesting one, because if you're unaware of him, if you're unaware of him, and I think part of the Bill Cosby defense is that there might have been drugs involved, but it's consensual. They know what they're doing, and if you weren't aware of what Bill Cosby was as an entertainer, the idea that females would come up to his hotel room or his office or wherever it was he was doing these things to get quote unquote career advice, if you weren't aware of the magnitude of his success, maybe you would be a little bit more likely to be like, why would anyone get career advice from this guy? You know what I mean? I don't know. It's a weird one, but I hazard a guess that you're right. You want someone that's impartial and can just look at facts without being tainted by having watched The Cosby Show for years.
It's a terrible situation.
Terrible.
It's one of those things that, even from the prosecution versus the defense side, in truth, every every court case or every hearing, justice in theory is blind. And it should always be, no matter who you are, no matter if you're wholesome Bill Cosby or predator Bill Cosby. So the fact that, that we weigh that based on should they really know who he is or shouldn't they? It's a shame that we have to look at it like that, as opposed to he's a nobody. And, the concept that he would be a nobody, and anybody who does this should get the same trial, the same fairness. So, it sucks that it is like that. But, it's one of those things that we can sit there and dance around it all we want, but it's the real world,
Yeah. And I wonder if I guess that's the thing. If you aren't aware of how much power he wields as an entertainer, like this guy who's got enough power to make a couple phone calls. Hey, boom, you got this booking agent. Hey, boom, you're on this show. That's the level of, similar to the Harvey Weinstein thing.
Oh, yeah.
People were going to Bill Cosby for career advice. Harvey Weinstein, I think, would, part of his game would be like, you want to work in this town? Watch while I do this into a fern, because that's normal. But in both situations, there was an abuse of professional power, or professional power was the leverage in the situation. And I guess that would be the one reason I could think of why you'd want someone to be aware of Bill Cosby's career, so you could go, okay, I understand exactly what he did and how he did it, and I understand exactly why an innocent female could be lured up to his room under the pretense of getting some career advice, especially if you're getting career advice from America's dad that you've seen dole out advice to his daughters on the show over and over again. You know what I mean? It's a weird one. I 100,000,000% understand how this happened. You know what I mean? If you had no idea that Bill Cosby was doing this sort of thing, and you saw America's father that you'd seen give advice to his own daughters in tough times, and he said, why don't you just come on up to my hotel room and we'll discuss the best way forward for you in life, and have a look at some of the things you're doing and think about what you should be doing and should not be doing. You'd be like, oh my God, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I grew up watching this guy on TV, and now he's actually like that in real life. That's fantastic. That's amazing. And that, I think, is what makes the whole premise that much more creepy and that much more insidious.
Money making, skills on the mic, keep me paid every day, and we're part of the battle, just bow down, better act like you know.
For more stimulation and less irritation, 9 out of 10 doctors choose KPRC AM 950, Houston's more stimulating talk radio.
Don't get the blues, get all the news. We mean all of you guys out there in Radio Land. All aboard!
He's back. AD on the radio.
Give it up, yeah. Give it up, yeah.
I thought we would play a new game on the show today, Travis. Would you like to know what that game is?
You're not going to break out the game show music, are you?
I will take any excuse to break out the game show music. Just you bringing up the game show music. Yep, this is what we're going to be doing later.
Oh my God, please tell me. Oh.
We're going to be listening to this later as we play a game of Who Tweeted It. Was it Trump, Marilyn Manson, or Kanye West?
I have this terrible feeling I'm not going to do so well at this game.
I have a terrible feeling a shockingly low number of people will do well at this game. This is where we're at in American politics. Oh, we're not playing the game yet. I don't have to talk like that. Yeah. So we'll play a Kanye, Trump, Manson Twitter game a little later on in the show. We'll also perhaps talk about your dream job and would you take less money to do it? It's an interesting one. As we examine career paths and think about the best way forward for the next chapter of our lives, we wonder, would we perhaps sacrifice some things to get others? And I'm curious to get your take on this, because you're a dude that's had 8 bazillion jobs, and every single one of them has been part of the journey, and I don't think any of them have been financially motivated, except for when you quit radio because they didn't pay you enough. Like that was what it came down to, right? Like,
it did come down to it. It did. It's one of those things, though. It did come down to it, but I also realized that I was not stuck in a bad way, but I realized that the position that I was in would never really be the position that I had wanted it to be. Just in the sense of, they didn't have much money, and it was just a bad situation altogether. I was working too much. There was no one else to do the work, and there was no one else coming. So it was one of those things.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah, totally understand. Well, we'll talk a little later on in the show about whether or not people would take less money to land their dream jobs. Right now, though, Travis, let's you and I take a look at the events of today. What is going on in the news?
Kim Kardashian says her baby's name, Chicago, is kind of confusing because it's not one syllable like her other kids' names.
I don't know if you're confused by words of more than one syllable, if you should be bringing new life into this world.
So true.
If you're a parent, if you have kids, you're going to have, I think, many moments where you are challenged or frustrated or lost or confused. That's normal. Finding the name that you gave your own kid confusing, I don't know. I don't know if that falls into the realm of normal. I mean, well, also you got to bear in mind, who are we talking about? We're talking about Kim Kardashian. And the list of things that confuses her is a long one. So I guess there's that. Go on.
Dennis Rodman says he thinks that he helped bring about the historic Korean summit, and that he thinks he's going to achieve world peace.
Yeah, Dennis Rodman, brokering world peace one step at a time. Well, yeah. He thinks he's going to achieve world peace?
He does. He does.
No. Well, he also thinks it's okay for a 56-year-old dude to wear a nose ring, so we take it with a grain of salt.
It's so funny. Kim Kardashian is also confused about Steve Harvey throwing shade at her.
Right. Then again, like I said, this is Kim Kardashian. The list of things that confuses her is a long one. Also on that list of things that confuses Kim Kardashian, where the sun goes at night. Go on.
Orlando Bloom and Katy Perry are officially back together.
No kidding. Well. Congratulations on locking down one of the most gorgeous women on earth, Katy. Good for you.
How awkward is it that he has better hair than her?
It's funny because I don't kind of get the Orlando Bloom phenomena. And it's one of those things that lets me know I don't get what it is that women find attractive in men. Like if someone says I think that Brad Pitt said it once. Like Brad Pitt said, I only have a couple years left. I'm getting older. Orlando Bloom's gonna take my place any second. And I was like, really? That guy? That's who you think? All right. I guess I don't understand what's pleasing to the eye for women. I don't get it. Like, as a dude, Travis, do you think Orlando Bloom's that good looking?
Yeah. I mean, I do. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to marry him. I'm not really into guys, and nothing against people who are, but yeah, I mean, I think he's really good looking.
Really?
Well,
I don't see it.
I also think Brad Pitt's really good looking though. So I mean, it's just one of those things.
That's my point. The Brad Pitt thing I can objectively get. I can look at him and go, there's a handsome devil of a man. I understand why he makes women's midsection sing Sweet Virginia. If I had panties and I was a female, I would drop them the moment he came to the front door. Like that.
I think you may have taken that a little far. No.
That I understand. I get that. Like you see what now? Would you
Nothing. Continue.
I honestly didn't hear what you said.
I said, I think you may have taken that a little far. I'm not here to judge you.
Well, it's funny because, when Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt got married, I was like, really? She's certainly pretty, but I don't think she's, on Brad Pitt's level of, oh, that's a good looking human being. And then when he married Angelina Jolie, I was like, there it is. That's, similar level of, oh gosh, literally men would fall all over themselves and do literally anything they could to be with to be with Angelina Jolie, and that seems to be the proper female equivalent to Brad Pitt. And how do we even get on this? Oh yeah, Orlando Bloom. Don't think he's as good looking as Brad Pitt. I don't get it. I don't understand why Brad Pitt would go, he's the next really good looking guy in Hollywood who will be replacing me.
Yeah.
And
I think that's a fair statement. Brad Pitt, I don't know. It's Brad Pitt. I mean, it's why in the world does he think he's being replaced? I believe he's over 50 and he still looks great. Now, I will say the one thing about Orlando Bloom, some pictures that when you look at of Orlando Bloom, he looks really good looking. And then there's some pictures, it's almost like the Two-Face episode of Seinfeld. There are pictures out there of Orlando Bloom that you look at and you're like, what do people see in this guy? But then you find like the other pictures and you're like, oh yeah, he's really good looking. But I understand because there are plenty of pictures of Orlando Bloom that he doesn't really look that good looking.
Maybe it's because I haven't. What movies has he been in? I know he's a big movie star, but I don't think I've ever seen him in a movie. Like, is he in those Pirates of the Caribbean movies? Is that him?
I don't know.
I've never.
No.
If he is, I've never seen one of them, and I've never seen a movie that he's in. So maybe I'd have to see him in action as a leading man to understand the appeal. Hey, you know what we've done? We talked about this enough. Go on.
I think you're right. Oh man, a Brazilian surfer broke the record for the world's biggest wave.
Yeah. For more on the story, consult that one annoying dude in your neighborhood who always wears flip flops and calls everyone brah. Do you have a lot of those people in your neighborhood, Travis? I mean, you live by the water. You live in a surf town, though. You live in Galveston. There's a lot of people in flip-flops that call you brah in Galveston.
I hate to tell you this. I think I may be that guy in the neighborhood.
Uh-oh. I've never heard you say brah, though.
I've said brah.
Oh, no.
And I almost exclusively wear flip-flops and board shorts and T-shirts. I'm pretty sure that I'm that guy in the neighborhood, which is devastating.
All right, well, again, we should talk less about this and move along.
We talked more about this than we should. T-Mobile is spending $26 billion to acquire Sprint.
Yeah, I saw that. I think that's great. I think that's great for the rest of us because, you know, if there's one thing I've learned, it's that giant telecommunications conglomerates always put the customer first, no matter what.
Exactly.
I like T-Mobile. I have a couple of different cell phones. One of them is a T-Mobile, and you know what I like about T-Mobile? You know, and they're not paying me to say this. I wish they would, but they're not. You know what T-Mobile does? It's really cool.
What's that?
You get to watch free baseball all year long.
Oh, that's nice.
It's the best. Yeah. They give you like the MLB at bat package, which I live and die by. And when I found out I could get it for free with T-Mobile, it actually caused me to keep my T-Mobile service when I was just going to switch to a different phone company that at the time I was working with. And I kept the T-Mobile solely for the baseball.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I wonder if Sprint users will get free baseball. I don't know. I do know this, though. We should talk about a couple more things.
McDonald's says their quarterly earnings have been much higher than expected.
Oh, no kidding. Huh. Well, that's a surprising one because, like, wasn't this sort of like endemic throughout the McDonald's organization? Everything was falling. People weren't shopping at McDonald's. People were not eating at McDonald's, and they're trying to do all sorts of different things, trying to make it more Starbucksy, trying to make it, because like the whole thing about McDonald's was turn and burn. You know, you serve as many people as you possibly can in as short a space of time, and hanging out at McDonald's was not something that was encouraged. But then they decided they wanted to make it more like a Starbucks. There was going to be more Wi-Fi. There was going to be, you know, coffee drinks, and they were actually going to try and make it a place where people congregated and just, you know, hung out all day working on screenplays that no one will ever read, sipping lattes and, you know, eating Big Macs, I suppose. Like, they keep redesigning and it kept declining. And so this is a big surprise to the folks over at McDonald's that their quarterly earnings are higher than expected, right?
It appears to be, which is it's great for them. I mean, I'm happy for them. I've always been a Mickey D's fan. In fact, they just tweaked their menu. They tweaked their value menu. I love it. I try not to eat it because I try to be on a very strict diet, and unfortunately, it does not include McDonald's, as delicious as I find it to be. And I'm not being paid to say that. But yeah, I love McDonald's, so I'm happy for them. I think it's great.
What did they tweak on their menu that you're all into?
Oh man, so they changed the dollar menu up to be like a value menu, which they've had for a while. They added so it's like a $1, $2, $3 deal. One thing that they started a little bit ago that it wasn't in their last week was the all day breakfast. So you can get breakfast 24 hours a day, which.
Oh, people love McDonald's pancakes. That's like a big deal. Yeah, no, I totally. When my family was going away on a long road trip, we used to you get McDonald's pancakes, be like, yes. And then there were times where we didn't make it to McDonald's in time and there were no pancakes. And I was like, oh man, it was the worst.
Yeah. They added on the $3 menu, they added, a new chicken sandwich, which is like, my God, the chicken patty is huge. I mean, it's very, very large. It tastes really good. I believe it has like almost like a Big Mac sauce on it. It's just really good. They have a lot of options on their value menu now, which I'm not the kind of guy, like if I'm going to go to Mickey D's, I'm probably not going to get like a $6 or $7 like meal deal with like an expensive burger. I'm probably going to get a few items off the value menu because that's just how I usually buy when I buy like fast food. So yeah, their new value menu is pretty killer in my opinion.
Well, I believe that we've given them more than enough free advertising for one show. You know, it's interesting though about fast food. Like McDonald's are really hurting for anything.
Like they need help.
Yeah, but McDonald's quarterly earnings much higher than expected, to which Chris Christie replied, happy to do my part. There's something very interesting about fast food, though, and why there's deals, why they keep bringing back the McRib, and why they keep changing up value menus and all these things. It's to achieve one thing and one thing only, and I find this fascinating. What do you think that is, Travis? Why do you think they keep chopping and changing menus at not only McDonald's, at every single fast food place? Why keep bringing the McRib back? Why not just leave it on the menu? People seem to like it. People get excited for it. Why do you have these limited time offers? Why do they keep changing stuff up when we all like the same stuff year in and year out? What do you suppose it is?
God, I actually don't have a clue. And it's funny because that's one of the things that it drives me insane. I want them to keep having them.
There is a certain amount of excitement that they build when they bring back the McRib. I mean, the general sort of celebration of the return of the McRib is sort of its own marketing tool. But there's a reason why every single fast food restaurant does all this different stuff, creates new menu items, takes menu items off for a little bit, it creates all this sort of menu-related controversy. I love these things, and then they took them away, and now, I'm totally going back because they're there. It's not just a self-perpetuating cycle of marketing. There's a very, very specific reason why every menu item is created and taken away from every single fast food restaurant's menu, and we'll get into what that is next.
Sometimes you just know you're done. You're longing for that shining sun. You walk these streets most every day. You're waiting to get washed away.
More AD on the radio.
You and I were talking a little bit about this, how McDonald's say their quarterly earnings have been much higher than expected. And it sort of prompted a chat about why McDonald's makes changes all the time. I mean, look, for a while, their market share had been falling and they were trying to reinvent themselves. They were installing Wi-Fi, encouraging people to hang out as opposed to the turn and burn attitude they had towards serving customers, trying to be a little more Starbucksy, trying to be a place where people would sip lattes and work on screenplays and stuff like that. But we got into this sort of, hey, why do they keep bringing the McRib back question? And why do they keep changing up the value menu? Like Travis was very excited about the changes they made to the Mickey D's value menu. And
oh, yeah,
it's made you go back in, right?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to cheat and I'm going to have fast food, that change up is nice. They added some really nice things to the value menu. So for someone like me who I try not to eat fast food. I don't eat it often. If I'm in a fast food emergency and I'm going to have fast food, now, I look to the Golden Arches and I'm like, oh, dude, I want to go try some of that new stuff that they've got on the menu. Like, it's great.
So there's a reason why McDonald's and every other fast food restaurant on the face of the planet changes up their menu to pull you back in. And, it was like you were saying with the value menu, you're like, wow, it's a really big piece of chicken. Like it's seems like it really is value. Now, here's the thing. It's 2018. The cost of a hamburger is probably no longer $1. Like, that seems unrealistic, right?
It seems like it's unrealistic. I don't know how they're making money off that.
Well, I'll tell you how they're making money off that. And this is why every single fast food creation is for one thing and one thing only in 2018. Maybe back in the day, they decided they wanted to make a better burger or something of that nature. You know what it's all about now? I mean, with McDonald's, it's about real estate. They're one of the biggest owners of real estate on the face of the planet, if not the biggest. They're in the real estate business. They're not in the hamburger business. They made a point back in the day of buying up plots of land to put McDonald's on and just waiting for the value to escalate. In the meantime, making that sweet, sweet burger money. But what they're trying to do is sell you soda. It's all just to sell you soda.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's where the money is in fast food. I mean, you do the math, right? You got to figure that McDonald's buys enough of the things that they buy to where, like, if the McDonald's menu creator, chef person decides to put 1/2 of a cherry tomato on a salad, 1/2 of a cherry tomato, that will change the gross national product and the financial future of some country that grows cherry tomatoes. It's just the quantity they buy in is huge. And what happens when you buy in big quantities, Travis?
Well, you get it for a lot cheaper, that's for sure.
And so bear in mind what, a little bit of syrup and a little bit of bubbly water actually costs.
That is true.
It's got to be, what, penny, 2 pennies tops, like if you're guessing. Not that I know anything about the cost of mass purchase soda, but you have to imagine that there's at least 100, there's probably a 50 to 100% markup on a soda when you buy it at McDonald's. That's where all the money is made. And so everything that they do, it's all just about selling soda. Like if you go and you don't buy a soda, you are messing with McDonald's plan, my friend. Of course, I mean, they've got similar sort of advantages when it comes to coffee and things of that nature. I mean, look, Starbucks, they do rather well because how much does a cup of coffee actually cost to make? Not $7. That's for freaking sure. But, you're willing to put up with it. But every single fast food restaurant is all about soda because that's where all the money is made.
That's crazy. That's one of the things, and I try not to drink Cokes now, but that's one of the things that drove me crazy when I lived in the Virgin Islands was there were no free refills. So it was and I would tell them, I'm like, dude, you're going to charge me $2.50 every single time I want another Coke? I'm like, come on, you got to be crazy. I know that there's no way that Coke costs, and they're like, well, it's got to be brought over on a barge. I'm like, I don't care. You could be bringing it over on a pleasure boat. There's no way that you're going to actually be paying $2.50 for a Coke. There's no way. And man, it would just drive me insane because I'm like, why am I going to buy a Coke if I know I'm not getting a free refill?
Free refills are a distinctly American thing. That did not happen in England. I remember when I first came over to England and I was just like, you mean I would go to a bar and I wasn't drinking? And so I would be like, cranberry juice, please. That was my drink of choice. And I remember the bartender just kept filling it up and be like, again, it's juice. You don't have to pay me every single time. I'm like, no kidding. That's amazing. So I discovered soda, juice, iced tea. You could just get as much of that as you wanted. That is an alien and foreign concept to people outside of the U.S. When you go to Europe, there's 2 things about getting soda that is absolutely, it takes all the joy out of it. Thing number 1, they inevitably serve it to you from a can. So you're buying each individual one.
I hate
and to me, a fountain soda just tastes infinitely better than a canned soda. It does. Then the strangest thing of all, they give it to you in a glass without ice. And if you ask for ice, they look at you like you're insane. And then they give you 2 cubes and you're like, it's not enough. Like, I like it to be chilly. I like it to be deliciously cold. This stuff, let's be real here, while we all drink it, tastes like malted battery acid, and we need something to put a chill on it. And the 2 ice cubes not cutting it. But yeah, so the American soda drinking habit that you've described, where you get as much of it as you want, is a different kind of thing that doesn't exist all over the rest of the world.
It's funny because I'm actually one of those guys. If I'm getting soda, like if I'm at a bar and I'm getting soda from the gun, or if I'm at, like, say I go through a Mickey D's, I will generally ask, if I know it's coming out of a fountain machine, I will generally ask for no ice, because of the fact that I want more soda than ice. And they fill up the cup with ice, and you're getting a full cup of ice and not very much soda. And it's like, okay,
yeah,
I know it's coming out cold. I'm going to drink it before that ice all melts anyways. So I'm like, no. I want no ice, but I do want it cold. That's the thing.
You know what I've started doing? I've started putting water in the fridge. And it seems pointless filling up a jug, then putting it in the fridge, as opposed to just drinking the water that came out of your fridge 2 seconds ago. But it's so much better. Something that is genuinely cold without the benefit of ice is delicious. But then I like to crunch ice, much to the chagrin of my dentist. I like to crunch ice. So there's that. Did we really just spend the last 10 minutes talking about soda pop, Travis?
I'm sorry. Cokes are delicious.
Up next, popcorn and bubblegum.
Leave the stimulation to the professionals.
Everyone is so smart.
KPRC, more stimulating talk radio.
There's something happening here, and you should know what it is. The dumbing up of America. Now, more AD on the radio.
We got to do a couple things before we get out of here. I don't know if we're going to have time for both of them. Travis, would you rather talk about why we are willing to or not willing to settle for less money to do our dream job? Or do you want to play the game? Do you want to play the game of Kanye, Trump, Manson, where we read tweets and you try and guess who tweeted them out?
I'm not going to lie. Both topics are very, very interesting to me. I would say play the game.
Yeah, the Kanye, Trump, Manson seems like a bit of a pressing thing. So perhaps we'll do that a little later on. Right now, though, let's roll through what remains of the news. What else is going on in the world?
All right, sir. You can now buy shoes made of used gum.
Huh?
I'm afraid so.
Well, there it is. Footwear that lets people know even faster than Crocs that you've given up on life. Go on.
Kim Jong-un brought a personal toilet to South Korea.
Oh. Huh. Speaking of personal toilets, I believe R. Kelly's in the news again. Did you see that? I think R. Kelly might be the next person to... Like, he's got this weird sex cult, and in the past... he sort of like, there's been all this talk of him and underage girls, and it's sort of been like an open secret. I don't know if there's, but apparently, I mean, the difference is he wasn't sort of like this wholesome figure. He wasn't Cosby's dad. I mean, he did I Believe I Can Fly in Space Jam, and that was his big family friendly moment. But beyond that, I don't think anyone's ever been under the illusion that R. Kelly is a wholesome individual. But like, there's been all this chat about how he's next on the chopping block. Like, he got away with doing unspeakable things to possibly underage girls for a very long time, and he's got like some weird sex cult, is the idea. Alleged weird sex cult. But yeah, it looks like he might be the next person to finally get their just desserts. It'll be interesting to see how all that plays out. I saw R. Kelly not long ago in Las Vegas.
Really?
I was in Vegas for some convention, and I guess there was some sort of weather situation that prevented him from getting there on time to play the show that he was supposed to play. And all his fans were really appreciative because he didn't just no show. He apologized for not having been able to make it there. I guess like there was a storm, so his plane couldn't land or something like that, or couldn't take off. And so he missed his performance, but he was like, I'm so sorry. Everybody head to the bar and we'll just hang out and have a good time, you know? And he did. He was very gracious. He signed everything. He was just, you know, there sort of chilling in the middle of, I think it was like the Hard Rock bar in Vegas, and like being R. Kelly. And I remember walking by being like, what is going on around here? And then the whole thing was explained to me. And perhaps he does unspeakable things to underage girls. And maybe the reason he gets away with it is because he's so good to his fans, because he certainly seemed more than accommodating in that department.
It's an interesting situation. I've wondered for a while how he's gotten a pass, because he, exactly like you said, he's done some stuff, and I don't know. You know who he kind of reminds me of? He kind of reminds me of Chris Brown, in the sense that for some unknown reason,
how that guy's walking the streets and has a career in this day and age. How he walked the streets and had a career when he used Rihanna's face as a speed bag, and there was photo documentation of it.
Yep.
Is beyond me. Like, this guy's walking around winning Grammys, getting money, when he should be absolutely reviled and in jail, and his label should wash their hands of him. And it was horrible. It was a horrible, awful, egregious, terrible, hypocritical thing to see the way the PR machine revved up to save his career, because people were making the almighty dollar off of him. Awful. Sorry, you'll always you want to get me mad and mention Chris Brown. Hate that guy.
That was actually the point there. You gave me everything I had hoped for. I thought, you know what? Because they really do remind me of each other. They're just the sense that somehow, I don't know how, people give them both a pass, and they will always be somebody's hero, which is just mind-blowing, because they're just absolute pieces of trash. So I thought, you know what? I'll mention Chris Brown, and AD will do all the work.
Well, I think it was like late 90s, early 2000s, and I could be making this up because this happened a while ago, but there was viral video, before viral video was really a thing, of R. Kelly doing something unspeakable.
Oh, yeah.
Of a digestive nature on an underage girl. Do you remember this?
Oh, I remember it very, very vividly.
And I believe... You might want to Google this. Go ahead and Google this, Travis. But I believe that the reason why he didn't wind up getting popped for it and going to jail is because I think, could be totally wrong here, I think R. Kelly has a twin brother or someone in his crew that looked a lot like him that took the fall for it.
Interesting.
That was the idea.
Oh, that's very interesting. I am Googling it. That's funny. Yeah, it's funny because there's actually even an MTV article. If you Google R. Kelly twin brother, the first thing that pops up, R. Kelly's brother being blamed in case destroyed my life. So I don't know if he went down for it, but it looks like at some point there was blame placed on him, and it looks like he feels like it destroyed his life. Carrie Kelly is his name. Carrie Kelly. Interesting.
What's a pirate's favorite R&B singer?
I don't know.
Oh, come on. R. Kelly.
I was going to say it, but I thought, you know what?
Such low-hanging comedic fruits. All right. Let's move along.
Okay. Ford has announced that they will stop making the Taurus.
The Taurus?
The Taurus.
Wow. Tough blow for anyone in the market for a car that lets the rest of the world that you've completely given up on life. An absolute travesty, replied a spokesman for the National Association of Incredibly Boring White Dudes. My first car wasn't a Ford Taurus, but it was like the same sort of thing. It was what was it? A Mercury Sable. You remember those?
The Mercury Sable. I do remember it. I never had one, but I do remember it.
Yeah, it was not. It did not go well. I bought that thing when I was a kid. It had 90,000 miles on it, and the transmission kept completely giving out, and I didn't have enough money for a new car, so I kept paying almost as much as it cost to get a new car, but all that I had to get the tranny fixed on it, and it just, oh man, it went all bad. And then I, finally got, the transmission fixed, and I was doing all the right things for it, and I was a kid. I was stupid. I didn't know anything. I'd grown up taking subways in London and in New York City, so I didn't know a thing about cars. And I was like, I'm going to do the responsible thing. I'm going to have my transmission serviced. And the thing just completely died. And I remember the mechanic telling me, why'd you have it serviced? I was like, because I was trying to do the right thing. And he was like... He was like, yeah, at that point, it was just kind of the grunge that was holding everything together and causing it to still shift the way it was supposed to. So, yeah, I did not have a good experience with the Mercury Sable, which, as far as I understand, was the same as the Ford Taurus back in the day. And if they are the same, I 100% understand why they're going away.
No kidding.
Go on.
A study has found that people who live near fast food outlets are more likely to develop heart disease.
Yeah, you're trying to do all the right things. You're trying to eat right. You're trying to exercise. You're trying to do the stuff that it takes to live a long, healthy, happy life. And then you come to find out that it's all just a matter of geography. Where you live could cause you to die young. And it's all because you live close to a fast food restaurant. There you go. Which I guess means you eat more fast food. So, yeah, get more information on that one in the latest issue of the New England Medical Journal of stuff that's completely beyond obvious. Go on.
How long do you want for the game?
We might want to play the game.
Yeah, because we're looking at about 4.5 minutes, and I don't want to skimp on the game because I think I'm going to have problems with the game.
All right. Okay. So what we need for the game, obviously, is the appropriate music.
Yes. Oh, this music.
So good.
It's not, though.
So, all right. We've got a selection of tweets here. Kanye, Trump, or Manson is the game that we are playing. I'm going to read the tweet. Travis will try and guess who tweeted it. Fear takes... Hold on, this is a little loud, right?
Yeah. Maybe we should get rid of it altogether.
No, not get rid of it altogether. How's that?
It was worth a shot. That's much better.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. Where'd my list O tweets go? Here they are. All right. Fear takes strategy, unlearn linear thinking, hit you with these zigzag thoughts. Kanye, Trump, or Manson?
I think the end of it is going to give it away for me. And God, I hope I'm right. I'm going to say that's a Kanye.
That is Kanye.
Oh, thank God.
From the world of darkness, I did loose demons and devils in the power of scorpions to torment.
My mind wants it to be a Trump, but I'm thinking it's a Manson.
Very good. That's a Manson.
Yes, I may be better at this game than I thought I was going to be.
A long time ago, being crazy meant something. Now everybody's crazy.
Okay, now we're getting into the tough ones. Is that a Kanye?
Nope, that's a Manson.
That's a Manson.
I'm nice at ping pong.
That's got to be a Trump.
Nope, Kanye.
What? Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm nice at ping pong. Oh my
yeah. Here's another one. These hoes think they classy. Well, that's the class I'm skipping.
That's got to be a Trump. No, I'm joking.
No. You were right. That's a Trump.
No, that is not.
Yeah.
Oh my, I was kidding. I thought that was a Kanye. Oh my God, that was a Trump? Wow.
You can say anything as long as you put the right emoji next to it.
Oh, that's tough. I don't know that Trump would use the word emoji. That leaves me with a Kanye or a Manson. Is it a Kanye?
It's a Kanye.
Oh, thank God.
Remorse for what? You people have done everything in the world to me. Doesn't that give me equal right?
Oh, I want to say that's either a Kanye or a Manson, but I almost feel like it's a Kanye.
That is a Manson.
Oh, my God.
You're not doing bad. Sorry, losers and haters, but my IQ is one of the highest, and you know it. Please don't feel so stupid or insecure. It's not your fault.
Oh, my God. I want to say it's either a Kanye or a Trump, and I'm leaning for a Trump, but I want to say a Kanye.
Let me just read. You're going Kanye? I'll read it again. Sorry, losers and haters, but my IQ is one of the highest, and you know it. Please don't feel so stupid or insecure. It's not your fault.
Oh my God, I don't know. Now I have no clue. I'll stick with Kanye. 45
that is
seconds.
Trump.
It's a Trump?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
These children that come at you with knives, they are your children. You taught them. I didn't teach them. I just tried to help them stand up.
30 seconds. Is it a Manson?
That is a Manson.
Oh,
well done.
God.
And finally,
15.
despite the constant negative press, Kovefi.
I'm going to say it's a Trump.
Yes, correct. You are. Well done, sir. I think you did admirably well on most of that. But it is a little interesting that that's a game that we can play, and no one I've done that with has gotten every one of them right yet. More tomorrow.
I just hate you so much.